What's up, everybody? Long time no see. I hope you've all been doing well. Today I'm going to be talking about the Season 2 patch notes for Warzone. This comes out tomorrow, the 28th of January, 2025. Happy New Year as well. Yeah, we're just going to go over the patch notes, talk about all the important things coming. This is my new foster dog, Winnie. Yeah? Lots to say to everybody on the internet? Yeah, I know. So much to say. Yeah, she's pretty adorable. Anyway, back to the patch notes. So they talk about Ricochet here. It says, as previously discussed in our recent community update blog, we are ramping up our fight against cheaters. They've said this 100 times, but we'll see if anything actually happens this time. For both multiplayer and Warzone, with new security measures deploying throughout the coming seasons. Updates include enhanced detection models for behaviors like aimbotting, stricter account trust, and hardware identification to target repeat offenders, and new tools to combat dishonest behaviors such as playing with cheaters or attempting to spam report innocent players. We are also focusing on more precise tools, including major upgrades to the kernel-level anti-cheat driver and server-side systems starting this season and continuing into Season 3. These measures, combined with ongoing improvements and legal actions against cheat sellers, aim to deliver a more secure and enjoyable experience for everyone. So hopefully, these kernel-level driver updates they talk about, hopefully that will be pretty good. And another big one is, at least for like content creators, the spam report circle that you get in with getting shadow banned. They claim that one person's spam reporting somebody cannot get them shadow banned, but yet we have seemingly hundreds of examples of this happening. So I'm not sure what the disconnect that is there, but something's causing these shadow bans, and hopefully they can address that, because it is just horrible for really good players who just repeatedly get shadow banned. A few quick notes just on Urzikstan here. So they've moved the buy stations. The Gulag uses new weapons and equipment, and then a big change to the train here. The automatic break release timer has increased to 240 seconds from 60 seconds. So it always would start moving after 60 seconds again, and now it's down to 240, so you can kind of position it where you want, and it'll stay there for longer. Got a couple new buy stations in Area 99. The Season 2 playlist for January 28th to February 20th, so almost a full month, is going to be trios, ranked play BR, so that's on Urzikstan. Battle Royale will have solos, duos, and quads. They restrict trios to only be ranked. For Resurgence on Rebirth Island, we're going to have solos, duos, trios, and quads, and then Area 99 is only going to be quads. And then Plunder, we have quads on Urzikstan, which is good for me for testing all the weapons. A couple changes to ranked play here. I'm really just going to talk about one. The Tracker perk is now available in ranked play, so this now outlines enemies when they're in your line of sight only. So that is much nicer. It's just going to outline them when you can see them, so it'll make them easier to see in situations where you could already see them, but removes the ability to like see people through walls and stuff like that. So that's really nice. And then they just made some SR adjustments. Crossplay. This is a huge change that they've announced previously, but if you guys didn't know this, if you're a console player, you're now going to be able to play ranked play in just console-only lobbies. So this is going to protect you from a lot of the PC cheaters. Obviously, there's still ways to cheat-ish on console, but at least the actual aimbots and wall hacks and things like that that are really easy to get on PC, you can now just avoid that entirely on console. The ranked play rewards for Season 2, some of them are pretty cool, I think, but I don't know, I don't love all of them. I don't really like the weapon camos too much. I think these don't look great to me, but I really do like these calling cards. I think those are sick. The emblems are very cool as well, but yeah, not a huge fan of the camos. Some pretty big general adjustments here to the game. So buy stations, all the buy stations now close at the final circle announcement. So towards the end of the game, you cannot use a buy station, period, including the deployable buy stations. So that's a big change there. I like that change, I think. And then deployable boxes, so utility boxes, muni boxes, armor, others can no longer be placed in the gas. This is to combat people going into the gas, throwing boxes, getting a bunch of stims, staying alive in the gas for a long time, things like that. There's just kind of like, yeah, it says it right here, kind of like cheesy strategies. They're kind of reducing the ability to do those, and I like that as well. Experience balance, so more experience for Battle Royale and Resurgence. Or Battle Royale gets a buff across the board for experience, both player and weapon. Resurgence gets a reduction in player experience, but an increase in weapon. And then Plunder gets a player XP buff to 22% and a weapon XP decrease by 13%. That sucks because people level their weapons in Plunder a lot, and it already takes forever. So now Plunder is going to give you much less weapon XP, which really just, I mean, I don't know if they're trying to push people to buy the game or what, because if you're a free-to-play player, it is now going to be much harder to level your weapons because Plunder's your mode to do that in usually. Advanced UAVs now show the elevation of the player, which is really nice. The Warzone barracks apparently now looks more like multiplayer and zombies, so you can see stats and things like that in a better way. Ammo caches now function like munition boxes. So these are the ammo caches that are throughout the map. When you hit one of those, it's now going to drop the additional ammo and equipment on the ground rather than just doing nothing like it currently does, I believe. When people buy back from buy stations, you can now ping those flares in the sky. So instead of having to call out buybacks, you can just ping it. So that's a nice change. Detailed weapon stats. So this is obviously a big one for me and for True Game Data. New stats have been added to the detailed weapon stats menu, and the layout has been redesigned. So because of this, it might take me a little bit to gather all these new stats that are coming out with the new weapons, because the stuff that I used to gather that basically was predefined and how it worked. So I'm going to have to rewrite my code that does that and get those stats, but it should only take a few days still. So that's good, though, because we got new stats. There's a bunch of stats that have been missing, like aim sway and like how much the gun moves as you're walking, things like that. There's a bunch of stats that were not in the detailed stats, and this is going to allow me to add them potentially. I haven't seen this menu. I don't know what's coming, but I really hope aim sway and those things are in there now. Fade distance. The fade distance for loadout and cash drop crates while parachuting has been reduced to 300 meters. Big deal. Body shield. So this is when you grab someone from behind and you hold them like a shield for the enemies. Kind of knew these changes were coming. Unfortunately, I thought it was very funny before, but I mean, we knew that this was going to get changed. So players can no longer release a victim without executing them. So people beforehand, you could use someone as a body shield when after they were downed, and then basically you could res them with that, because if you just let the timer run out or release them, they were now up again after being downed. So you could just like repeatedly down people over and over, which was not great. So I knew that change was coming. So it's here now. Jumping. So they increased the jump speed and the successive jump height with one unmodified successive jump. So basically bunny hopping. They're adding back in a little bit of bunny hopping, so that's going to be interesting. Parachuting. So increase the speed of the parachute cut animation, making cutting a parachute and readying your weapon significantly faster. I think this is a good change. I think there's a lot of times where you cut your chute, and if you don't time it just perfectly, the person on the ground has time to turn around and shoot you before you can even react. But this could be bad in some situations, because if you get like dove on from somebody coming out of gulag, you might not have time to react now. So this is kind of a double-edged sword. I don't like the fact that it says significantly faster. We will see how this plays out, but that could be too much in my opinion. We'll see. Increased player velocity when landing from a cut parachute land for smoother transition into full sprint. Okay, so less of a pause when you land. Now you'll be able to basically maintain your speed from after cutting the parachute, it seems like. There's a new perk coming called Reactive Armor. Your armor will regenerate up to 50% if you have not taken damage in the last 5 seconds. That seems like it is extremely good, but it's limited to certain scenarios where it'll be really good, I guess. But that's an interesting perk. I like adding perks that aren't something we've seen before. I think this could be interesting to play with. There will probably be other perks that are better, but it is an interesting option there. Tracker. So pings have been replaced with an outline. I think this has been announced before, and that outline is not visible through walls, but will still appear on targets through smoke. So it's still going to be really good for spraying through smoke and then hitting your targets. It might even be better than before for hitting people through smoke, because the pings kind of faded out as you aimed over them before, and it wasn't super easy to do. So I don't love that. I wish smoke still obscured that, I think. I think this is going to make smokes like just not that effective, which is maybe the point. I don't know. Tracker can now mark up to 5 targets simultaneously. Engaging a 6th target will remove the outline from the first target. So that's interesting. We'll have to see how that plays out, but that's a big change. It doesn't work through walls anymore, which is good. But the fact that it works completely through smoke now, even better than before probably, could be a problem, I think. The weapon handling component of Dexterity has been enhanced and is now a default perk for all Warzone players. So we've been asking for this. I don't know if this is what all players want, but this is what the vocal group on Twitter wants. So Dexterity now applies at all times, which is awesome. Mountaineer. This perk returns in slot 1, replacing Dexterity. Fall damage reduction has been significantly improved compared to the current version with Dexterity, though it's not as powerful as it was in Modern Warfare 3. So it was pretty crazy in Modern Warfare 3. You could fall a huge amount without taking any damage. So I think this is good. We got a perk back that we liked. Everybody ran this for a long time, but it's not quite as powerful as it was before. Veteran now provides significant damage reduction against the effects of gas grenades. Okay, cool. So some equipment changes here. The munitions satchel now provides only one additional item, down from 2, to address overstocking and spamming equipment. I like that. Tacticals and lethals. Maximum deployed tacticals and lethals reduced to 2 each, down from 3, to make more purposeful trap plays. So this is like if you put down a claymore, you can only have 2 claymores live at once now, rather than 3 before. So before you'd have to have a regenerative perk so you could get those back. So you'd get 3 because you only ever hold 2, or something along those lines. But now you can only place 2 down at a time. The third one will disappear as soon as you place 1 more. Impact grenades. The default stack size increased from 2 to 3, so you can hold 3 impact grenades now. When equipped with a munitions satchel, the max stack size is 4. Thermobaric grenades. Thermobaric, I think. Inner radius is increased from 25 to 50, so that's the maximum damage radius. Was increased by 2x, so it's much bigger. Inner damage increased from 190 to 220. That seems crazy, so we doubled the size and increased the damage. Outer damage increased from 45 to 55. Let me read this. The thermobaric grenade has been adjusted to improve its usability by increasing the inner radius, making it easier to deal high damage. The slight damage boost complements this change. Yeah, that seems like it's going to be super good. Frag grenade inner damage decreased from 250 to 240. Middle damage decreased from 170 to 120. Outer damage increased from 48 to 55. So bigger damage at longer ranges, slightly, but much less damage inside that outer range. So that's overall a pretty big nerf to the frag grenade, I would say. Experimental gas grenade. Slightly increased the trigger height of the gas effects to better match visuals. Movement reduced from gas decreased. So I like that. Movement reduction from gas decreased. So you can move a little bit faster in the gas now. Gas damage against resistant targets reduced from 8 to 5. So it does less damage to targets that have a perk or something that reduces that damage. Stim shot. Strafe slide velocity with stim slightly reduced. Small change there. Spy camera. Updated the outline visual to no longer display through walls. Very good. Huge change. Effect duration increased from 7 to 10 seconds, so now it lasts longer, but it doesn't work through walls. Proximity alarm updated the outline visual for better clarity. All right, some more general changes here. Reload speeds have been improved across the board for all weapons from 5 to 25 or 5 to 20%. So significantly better reload times here. I'm not going to go through all the details. It's just quite a bit increased across the board. Bullet penetration has been adjusted, so for different materials, there's a more consistent experience now through thicker walls, so you can't penetrate through thicker walls as easily, I would assume, because there were some weapons that, like some LMGs and stuff, that could really shoot through thick walls, which was not great. Weapon swap. So increased weapon swap speed by 10%, effectively replicating the effect of quick grip gloves perk from Modern Warfare. So now you can swap weapons 10% faster across the board. Sprint to fire. Reduce the sprint to fire penalty when jumping from 35% to 10%. This is a big change there again. So again, they're bringing back bunny hopping. So the game's going to play a little bit differently and feel a little better if you're one of those people that like to bunny hop. Aim down sight. Reduce the aim down sight jump speed penalty by 25%. Again, more for bunny hopping there. This is going to be a nice change. It feels so bad to jump and not be able to ADS for a long time. So I think that both these changes are going to be really, really nice. On to some new weapons being released. We have the PPSh. This was one of my favorite weapons in, I believe it was released from Black Ops Cold War back in Warzone 1, and I loved using this thing in Warzone. So much fun. Huge mag, and it put out really good damage with a really high fire rate. So I liked this gun a lot, so I'm excited to see that come back. We are also adding the Cypher 91 assault rifle. This is a full auto assault rifle. Slower rate of fire, balanced by great handling and excellent mobility, so it's kind of going to be like a sniper support kind of weapon. We'll see how that plays out. The Feng 82, this is an LMG. It's a full auto. It's a very slow rate of fire with heavy damage, so that'll be interesting. Maybe like the bar in Vanguard, we'll see. And then we have the TR2 marksman rifle, semi-auto marksman rifle, great rate of fire and respectable handling. That looks like an FAL, so we're getting the FAL back, it looks like. I will do a dedicated weapon changes video after I gather all the weapon changes from the patch. So I'm just going to briefly cover these, see if I can go fast through this as far as nerfs and buffs. The AK-74 got a nice little buff. The AIMS 85 looks like it got a slight buff as well. AS Val reloads faster on top of the global reload speed improvements. The Goblin Mark II has increased damage and increased damage range, so this got buffed pretty well, as well as the bullet velocity and the arm and hand multipliers, so big buff there for the aims, or the Goblin, sorry. The GPR 91, this looks like it got nerfed in terms of damage range and ADS and sprint to fire and leg multipliers, so a nerf there to the GPR. The Model L got an increase in damage range and increase in leg multipliers, so a buff to the Model L. XM4 decreased the damage range and decreased the damage in the last drop-off. This is good. Obviously, this needed to happen. The XM4 has been absolutely meta for so long. Leg multipliers decreased significantly, so it's going to do less damage to the legs as well. The 100-round magazine had an increased penalty to ADS time. Again, this is something that was needed. It now penalizes ADS by 30%. The buffer stock has been nerfed as well. The horizontal recoil control bonus is down to 45% from 60, and vertical down to 18 from 30. Gun kick down to 20 from 32. So a big nerf across the board of the XM4. Hopefully that brings it in line with the other weapons, and we can play with something else for once. That would be very fun. The C9 got a buff to damage range and damage, so it's got a nice little buff there, as well as some other stat buffs. The Jackal PDW got a nerf to damage range. Damage stays the same though, just a nerf to the range. The torso and arm multipliers were decreased, and the lower torso as well. Bullet velocity decreased. So this is a nerf across the board to the Jackal, but not a huge one. These multipliers are probably more important than the range changes, so we'll see how that lines up when I actually get all the measurements taken. Compact 92, better ADS time, better sprint to fire time, slight buff there. KSV increased the damage range and improvement in ADS, sprint to fire, and bullet velocity, so a little buff there. PP919, this got a decrease to the damage range in the middle and second middle drop-offs, as well as a decrease in headshot and leg multipliers, so a little nerf there to the PP. The XMG, the buffer stock attachment, got the same or approximately the same nerfs that the XM4 got, so that's a nerf to the XMG. The 9mm PM pistol, this got a increase in damage range significantly. Headshot multipliers increased, torso multipliers increased, so it's going to do more damage and have more range. And that is it for the weapon changes. So obviously, like I said, I'll do a specific video for that once the patch is actually out tomorrow. I don't know how long it's going to take me. I can probably get it done in a day or two. So that video will be out with all of the weapon changes in much more detail than that. And I'll talk about what I think the meta is for long range and close range. So be sure you are subscribed if you want to see that. Don't forget to like the video if you like this content. But let's keep going through this and see what else changed. Some quick loot changes here. So the lootable perk list has been changed. You can now get Shrouded, Irradiated, Veteran, Reflexes, Sprinter, and Tempered from the lootable perks. And lootable weapons have been completely reworked, totally new. They also removed a lot of annoying weapons, so like semi-auto and burst, things that people weren't expecting to not be full auto. Those have been removed, so we'll see how that works out. All right, guys, that is it for the video. I went through the rest of the patch notes. There's really nothing else super interesting there. A huge list of bug fixes, some changes to contracts, and some other small stuff, but nothing really to cover for the video. So hopefully this improves the game a little bit. All these bug fixes look awesome. The fact that we can use something besides the XM4 means I have something to talk about again. So you guys will see videos from me in the coming days. But if you like the content I make, if you like the website, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Say goodbye to Winnie.